Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for joining me today. This is part 2 in the series that I'm doing on the chalk stories for the Harvest collection. This is called the Homegrown collection, and I'm going to be using part of this transfer from Vintage Seeds and part of a transfer from Harvest. These are the tools that come in the Harvest transfer. I'm going to be putting these on a natural wood plank board that I picked up somewhere in my travels. This is not a chalk couture board, and this one is a raw finish. It's been stained, but it has not been sanded. So to prep this board for the transfers and protect my transfers a little bit, I did give this a nice coat of wax, and then I went in, I let it dry for 24 hours. I came back, I buffed it out, and it is ready for us to use. So first things first, I'm going to take this silk screen transfer and I'm going to cut the grow where you are planted out, because that is what we're going to be putting on this particular board. I'm going to save the seed packets for another day. Now I'm also going to be using Chalkology paste in eucalyptus. It's a great soft green color, and I think that it's going to just show up on my gray board nicely. It's not going to be very it's not going to have a stark contrast. It's going to be very soft, and that is the look that I'm going for. So let me set that aside. I'm going to grab my Sharpie and put on the back of this transfer carrier sheet, I'm just going to go ahead and put grow, so that I know this is the back side where I do not want to put my transfer once it's clean and dry. I want to put it on the shiny side of the transfer where there is no writing, and that's just so that it protects it. So now I'm going to take my Chalk Couture pheasant cloth. I'm going to lay this one down, and I'm going to remove the backer sheet from the actual transfer. And I do that by just starting a little corner on the transfer to lift it up. And then I set it down and I take the carrier sheet away from the transfer. It gives me a little more control, a little less static electricity, and lessens the likelihood that it's going to fold over on itself, because these are very, very sticky back and they will stick to themselves. If that happens, you can unstick them by running it under cool water and gently taking it away, or you can lay it in a pan of water as well, but it's best just to avoid that if possible. If it does happen to you, don't panic. It's okay, you can undo it. But I'm just going to fuzz this really well. The fuzzing cloth makes short work of this process. And this is a double-sided cloth. The other side is microfiber, which is perfect for drying the transfers once you have cleaned them after use. So I'm really loving how Chalk Couture has done this. Okay, so now I'm ready to put this one on here. I'm going to lift it a little bit. I'm just going to eyeball how it's going to sit and whether or not it's straight. I'm not worried about it being perfect. Just want it to look relatively straight, and kind of the same amount from side to side, from the end of the W to the beginning of the G. I'm just eyeballing that as well. That looks pretty straight to me, so I'm going to go in where the seams are, and I'm going to just gently press down on the silk screen to kind of make sure that it's got a good contact there where the gaps are in the board. We've already done one of these projects, and where the gaps are, it is a little bit difficult. It doesn't turn out just exactly perfect, so I want to get it as good as I can. Make sure there's no air bubbles. Air bubbles are not your friend. If you've got air bubbles, the chalk paste is going to seek those air bubbles out, and then it's going to be distorted. All right, there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and put these guys on here. Which way do I want it? I think I want it like this. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to write on the back. This one I'm just going to write tools. I could cut these apart, but because I'm going to use them together, there's no need for me to cut them apart. So I'm just going to leave them as is. Start a little corner, remove the backer from the transfer, and then fuzz it up. This just gives me a little bit of fuzz on the back of the transfer so that it's not quite so sticky. It's less likely to try to pick up the wood particles from my board. It's also less likely to tear when we are lifting it up. We don't want it to stretch. We don't want it to tear. So fuzzing is an important step for that. Right, I think that is ready to go. I'm going to give my Chalkology paste a little bit of a stir. I can see that in the process of setting up, it has dried a little bit. The water evaporates out of it kind of quickly. So I have some distilled water in my mister bottle. I'm just going to give that one squirt with my mister, and I'm going to give it another stir so that it's not too thick. We have to remember that the chalk paste is designed to dry quickly, so we do want to work quickly with our transfers so that it doesn't dry in the silkscreen itself, but we can always reconstitute it with water when it starts drying out in the jar. It's best to use distilled water just because that way you have less contaminants going into your jar as well. All right, so I'm going to take a little scoop. I'm going to put it right here on these sections, and I'm just going to spread that with my small squeegee over the top of my letters. Now, because this is wood, it does soak into the wood rather quickly, even though we have a coat of wax on it. So it takes a little bit more of your Chalkology paste to do wood projects, but it's totally worth it. I love the outcome. And this is a distressed look sign anyway, so where it's imperfect, some of it is meant to be imperfect, and the other you're not going to be able to tell the difference. It's very forgiving and just so fast. I love that about Chalk Couture projects. I'm not worried about using too much because any excess that I do use is going to go right back in the jar. Just making sure that all of the silkscreen area is covered. And I went a little bit over, but I don't think that that is going to matter. Nope, it's sure not. Okay, so let me pull up the excess off of this part. It's drying super, super quickly. And we're going to go ahead and reveal Grow Where You're Planted and set my design aside so I can clean and dry it. And now we're going to do our tools, our little spade and our handheld, I don't know what you call that, a hoe? Not sure. I'm sure it's got a technical name. And I probably, where the little line is, that may have actually gone through to the board. I'm not worried about that. I just need to be a little bit careful when I'm putting the paste on. And do this part. I think this is going to be really cute. Okay, the excess is going right back in the jar. Pulling it up. Now I'm leaving this thicker than if I was doing a chalkboard, and that is okay. All right, let's lift it up and see how we did. Fantastic. All right, I see that I have a little smudge right here, so I'm just going to grab a cleaning cloth that I have next to me while it's still wet, and I'm just going to pick that right up, and the smudge is gone. Now I just have to let this dry, and it's ready for me to put outside in my entryway. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey today. I hope that this has inspired you to try some Chalk Couture. If you are interested in this design or any others from Chalk Couture, you'll find my website linked in the description box below. I hope that if you have any questions, you'll PM me with those. I'd be happy to answer any of them. And if you'd like to do what I do and make money beautifully, I'd be happy to have you on my team. Thank you for joining me today. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button and then go over and click the little bell. That way you'll know whenever I upload new videos, and you can come along for the fun. Remember, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and happy crafting.